and that's my big deal. Is I don't think the whole county is being treated fairly.
Okay.
With the way the money goes, I don't think they're being a good steward of their money. That's just my personal opinion. But I think they need to. I think they maybe need to utilize a little more what they have in already. Go in, maybe help them individuals clean up things. Maybe different housing, help the housing thing.
Welcome to the CCCNews podcast. Voters in Wasco County will see a crowded and competitive race in the May 19th primary election, with 7 candidates running for 2 seats on the Wasco County Board of Commissioners, all at a turning point for the county's future. Today, we welcome Dick Schaffeld to the podcast. He is running against Phil Brady and Mike Ernest for Wasco County Commissioner position number 3. Schaffeld enters the race with deep roots in the Dalles and a long track record of local involvement through both business and public service. He has lived in the community since 1991 with his wife Sandy, where they raised their family and built strong ties across the region. And full disclosure, Dick helped me with the auto windshield replacement on my daughter's Subaru. He did an excellent job and very, very service oriented, and I always appreciated that. He works alongside his son in a family-run business, Bandit Glass, a mobile windshield repair and replacement service, giving him first-hand experience in small business operations, customer service, and the day-to-day challenges faced by local employers. Schaffeld also has spent more than 14 years in public service as a member of the Mid-Columbia Fire and Rescue Board, where he currently serves as secretary/treasurer. In that role, he has been involved in oversight of emergency services, budgeting, and long-term planning for fire protection and response across northern Wasco County. Beyond his formal role, Schaffeld is active in the community, supporting youth programs, including 4-H and FFA, and maintaining a small farm in the Dalles. With a background that blends small business and ownership, fire district governments, and long-standing community involvement, Schaffeld is positioning himself as a candidate focused on practical experience, local knowledge, and service to the community, infrastructure demands, and future investment decisions. Dick, thanks for coming to the podcast.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for having me.
You bet. It's great to get you on the show and learn a little bit more about how you feel about specific issues in Wasco County, and we'll just kind of start her up here.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
We'll
figure out what you got to say, and we'll go from there.
Okay, great. The first question centers on housing. Housing costs and limited supply are repeatedly cited as one of the county's most urgent problems. A proposal has been floated for the county to help finance projects such as Mary Hanlon's Basalt Commons through a loan or similar tool. And that's a 108 or 114 unit apartment building with some stuff down there on 3rd Street at the old Griffith Motor site. Would you support the county using public financing tools such as loans, guarantees, or revolving housing funds to accelerate projects like Basalt Commons?
Well, that's kind of a hard one for me because I really can't say I would support that. I don't think that benefits the whole county as a whole, and that's my big deal. Is I don't think the whole county is being treated fairly.
Okay.
With the way the money goes, I don't think they're being a good steward of their money. That's just my personal opinion. But I think they need to. I think they maybe need to utilize a little more what they have in already. Go in, maybe help them individuals clean up things. Maybe different housing, help the housing thing. I don't know about the millions to put in something like that. When I went into business, I took the risk, and most people do, right up front. And if you can do it, you can do it. And if you can't, maybe you shouldn't be in it. I know it's a little harsh, but that's kind of reality in my opinion. As a business owner, I've struggled. There's been times when it's been tough to make ends meet. That's the way things go. And I don't know if I'm really for backing a private entity with the county money or support like that.
Huh. Very good. Okay. Is there let's see, beyond that, what is the single most effective policy lever, or are there certain things that Wasco County can do through zoning or land use changes or incentives or partnerships to increase affordable housing in the next 5 years?
Well, I think there is. People got to get together and try to figure it out. There's lots of things. I mean, to me, I don't know everything. I'm not a politician, but I mean, it's something I'm stepping into, and we'll figure it out, I guess, or somebody will straighten me out.
Yeah.
There's got to be ways to do it. I mean, there's ways for people to get into business and do things. It's a stretch. I mean, it's like, if you want to take the risk.
Yeah.
But you can't just depend on the government to bail you out all the time. I don't think. There's a lot of things that are variables, and you just got to, some people make it, some people don't.
Yeah.
It sucks, but, that's America.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have the opportunity to do that. But I don't think it's up to the government to bail us out all the time.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, and the small business, like both you and I are small business owners, and
there's risk. You got things changing here in a few days. Yeah, wouldn't it be nice? Oh yeah, and that might be an opportunity though. How many people do you employ, and this and that? So that's something that I think they need to look at. Maybe step up and help it out. Maybe give them a break in their taxes. We get 3% tax increase every year, right? And so what are we doing with that?
The property tax, yeah, right.
Every year we're paying 3% more.
Yeah.
So where's it going?
Gotcha. Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, good. I'm going to jump into wildfire. We of course had the Rowena fire last year, and across the river, the Bourdain, and it was a pretty bad year for wildfires in Wasco County. And it destroyed dozens of structures. I think it was something like 52 homes. I always goof that number up, but it was a lot.
I don't know if it was that many, but it was enough. It was enough.
Yeah.
It was enough to matter. But the thing about it, we've been having wildfires for quite a while.
Yeah.
And when the vegetation's so tall and nobody's doing anything with it, and I'm talking about out in the wild land and everything else, there's no way when the fire comes in and the winds come in and Mother Nature happens. I think it's a bummer that the Rowena, that's devastating what happened to those guys, and I feel for them. They're, in a way, I feel like their hands were tied because some of those folks couldn't do what they needed to do because of the regulations. You can't cut down a tree because it's in the scenic gorge area. I might be all wrong, but, and I don't know exactly how that goes. But that's, and then when you get a wind come through there like that and a fire, there's no way the fire guys, they could stop that. Some guys were really blessed, that the house didn't go up.
Right.
But I think there's a lot of things that we could work on education-wise.
Yeah. So that leads me into this question. So is there investments or policy changes that you would prioritize to ensure Wasco County is better prepared for the next large wildfire? Is it in evacuation planning or fuel reduction? You just said education, infrastructure protection.
Well, I think there is, and I think they're working on it. I think they've got these mitigation grants or something where they're going in and helping clean up things around there. But I don't know if everybody realizes, there's some folks that aren't in tune with, all the new regulations and everything.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a big education thing.
Yeah.
And I think they're working on it, trying to educate people on, you got to have so far away from your buildings and that. But
so you're talking about defensible space there,
right,
like
defensible space,
clearing the fuels,
right. Yep.
and
keeping it away, and keeping things cleaned up, and maybe fire lines, things like that. I think there's things that have been going on in the past, not recently, but a long time ago when they used to have fire lines, or used to have defensive spaces.
Yeah.
They'd plow a spot around their houses or whatever. There's just things, and I think it's an education thing. People don't realize, and you can't just blame it on, oh man, it happens. The weather changes and everything else.
Yeah.
So and I think they could maybe get some grants or, match the grants or whatever, help out instead of just, give them little piddlings. Maybe go out and make an effort to do some of that, which I think they are, but I think they could do a little more of it. I think they could just do a little more for the whole county. And I'm talking about there's some big wildfires. How about the one up at Celilo a few years ago? That thing went clear into Sherman County. Mm-hmm. And that a lot of money and a lot of, not many houses. But think if you had that many houses over there and that fire went through, you'd be looking at the same thing.
Yeah, and farming practices have changed, and that kind of, like there weren't the breaks. You naturally have breaks with summer fallow and that kind of thing, but when you leave stubble in the fields, there's no break. Yeah, kind of, changing thing, right?
Figuring it out.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, well, and so but that's great because many rural fire districts, and this is the whole countywide. There's fire districts countywide depend heavily on grants and donations rather than a strong tax base. Do you have a plan or to stabilize long-term funding for rural fire districts so they have the equipment, staffing necessary to protect remote communities? I guess the question is does Wasco County kind of want to get involved in helping these rural fire protection districts more so, or and how?
I think they ought to. I think because it's the whole county. I think they ought to get help out a little more. And I don't mean going and taking over. I think they need the volunteers. I think that would be a devastating deal if they went in and tried to do all this on a union base or whatever. There isn't the money for it. And the volunteers help tremendously.
Yeah.
I mean, you got volunteers that help the police forces and everything else because they're there. They know what goes on. They know where the wind's blowing. If they would just listen and, let them help out, I think it would make a tremendous amount. And I don't see anything wrong with maybe giving them some tax money to help this out. Why make them struggle out and just, donations in this? It's part of the community, part of the county. So why not, kick them back? Maybe give them some of this tax money.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they need to be doing more with their money on that towards the emergency services, the fires, the ambulances, clear out the whole counties. And do, another thing, why don't we do something for the kids?
Yeah.
I mean, instead of trying to renovate, anyway, anyway, no. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, but so we're on rural fire districts.
Okay.
Now
I think we ought to figure out a way that we can contribute and help those fire departments out there, and not just relying on them to get in bed with some big companies and try to get the money from them. I think we ought to step up and help them out.
Yeah, and the kind of the same goes for small water districts.
Oh, absolutely. Like the well thing up in different places. I don't know. I read something. Thule's having a problem. Why not step in and help them? Why make them grovel and beg for it? If there's a problem, let's address it. And the same with the people. If they've got a problem, bring it to the county, bring it to the commissioners. I think we are your voice, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But I think the public in the county, constituents, I guess is what you call them.
Yeah.
Bring it to the commissioners, and then the commissioners bring it more. And you know what? If they can't get something resolved, then maybe we ought to change something up a little higher up.
Fair enough. Okay. Great. Well, then that kind of, we've been talking about, community dollars, that kind of thing. I'm going to talk about data centers now because, we're talking about revenue and all that kind of thing. But how should Wasco County balance the economic benefits of a large industrial investment like a data center that we have out here with concerns about water use, infrastructure demands, and transparent tax incentives?
I think they ought to treat it more like a real business.
Okay.
I understand you got to give tax incentives according to the state and everything else because of the utilities and all that. But I think they could be a little more diligent on what they give. And data centers are a necessary evil, or however you want to put it.
Okay.
They need to be there. We need to keep up with the Joneses and all that. I mean, nationwide and everything. We need to keep up. But I don't think that we need to put our communities, at I think they could benefit from it if we could just rein that in a little bit, maybe, look at something a little more, the whole total picture maybe, long term. This 20 years or 50 years or whatever. I mean, there's some, generation farms around that this is affecting, the water. When they say, well, no, it only comes from this aquifer. Well, it still comes out. I mean, there's family farms that have been here for generations.
Okay.
That have many families working at them. So to me, that's what you ought to be looking at too, because those are people that live here and pay taxes. And so I think you need to look a little deeper in of what you're affecting when you're telling these guys come in. I think, it's a great deal. I mean, their money's good and everything. The other businesses, they pay taxes right when they come in.
Yes.
They don't get an incentive to not pay until they're fully, whatever. I mean, it's just, I think the people making the decisions with these folks should be a little more toward the whole county. And I'm talking statewide.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
They should be spending more on their tax. I mean, they should be paying more in their property taxes, or the way it works now is they do fees and taxes because of that SIP agreement. But that number should be higher, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think they
more
should
balanced.
They should do something with that. And they know. The water situation, they're taking up a lot of water. Well, somebody should have known way before. I mean, they know. I can't see where they wouldn't know they need that much water. And somebody wasn't paying attention or something. You need to look at this. And so that's the deal. We need to figure out something before it dries up the town. And what do you got? You got a big data center with a bunch of empty houses and whatnot. You got to have something for the families.
Yeah.
To survive.
So you are concerned about having enough water.
Well, it's a concern that people have talked to me about.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, people said, farmers around have, commented, the city, so we have a dry year.
Yeah.
Well, it goes on your water on who has the
rights, the water rights?
Yeah, water rights. Thank you. But I guess the city has something where they can kick in, and so to be sustainable, they can override the old water rights.
Yeah.
And I understand the water rights, but still, they got to have some sort of control on what's going on.
Yeah.
It's just, and I don't know. I don't have an answer for it. It's just a concern that's been brought up, and I don't know what, but it is something I want to bring up and address.
Yeah.
And, to whoever makes the big decisions or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, very good. All right. On the same topic, the latest data center that came on 3500 River Road, they just paid their first tax bill in 2025. It was $9.8 million in total payments. So it was property taxes and gap funds and all the different fees.
I really don't understand all the.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but honestly, I really don't understand all that. I know it's a gob of money.
Yeah.
And how they pay it and where it goes and everything else is, I just think they could be better stewards of where that money goes.
That's where this question's going. So, in that the gap payment, there was $5.75 million that was split equally between the city and the county. Okay. So they got some odd million each. And in regards to that, what specific industries or economic sector should the county actively recruit or invest in over the next decade to strengthen long-term economic resilience? It's so essentially what I'm saying there is the county has this windfall, right, of dollars coming in. Right. How is it best to be spent with an eye towards, strengthening our economy for the future?
I think that the county ought to, and I consider this a windfall. Really, I really do, because you have your 3% every year.
Yeah.
And then you have this, boom, this bag of money. So what are we going to do with it? So how about, in my opinion, instead of trying to take like the Kramer Field and make that into a hospital or something, or, it's already a youth facility is what it's designated for. And I'm probably stepping on somebody's toes or whatever, but why not go in and put some AstroTurf in there? You'd eliminate a lot of maintenance on it. I might be wrong, but I think you'd eliminate the maintenance. You wouldn't have to maintain it, wouldn't have to mow it, and everything. And the water, that's good. There's a lot of water going into the lawns.
Okay.
So if you did that and put some really good lighting around it, LED lightings, where you can direct them where they're not bothering people, but utilize that facility. It's already a youth facility. The county's got that property back behind. If you're worried about parking, let them park in there for these things. I think we could attract some major sports things for the kids. And I think that would be a benefit for the community because people, when I was chasing my kids around, we went all over the place. I coached and I, whatever, cheered and whatever. And it didn't really matter who it was for, as long as the kids are doing, because to me, you give them something to do. And that comes back to the community because you got hotels. Mm-hmm. If you made it regulation size, I'm gonna say this.
Yeah.
I think the pool not being regulation size and not covered, I think that was a big mistake.
Yeah.
And I will go public on that, I guess. But, I may get crucified for this interview.
I don't know.
But why don't we think about that instead of going and totally redoing that? It's right there. We have parking. I don't think it's a really good deal for the hospital to go there. I've been stuck on trying to come off the freeway there in front of Denny's.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah.
I think we need to utilize, this county needs to utilize the properties they have. But I really do think a really big, nice youth facility.
Okay.
Huge.
Yeah.
Because, soccer fields and, baseball diamonds and everything else. And go ahead and make them in an AstroTurf. You don't have the maintenance. You don't have the water runner. Yeah. And put some really nice lighting to where it's safe. I mean, I've got a guy I was talking to and said he goes down Hood River. And they've got one down there. And he said, you can't get onto it. You can't book a day. It is booked solid. And he's driving down there and he at least spends $20 a day. When he goes down there, he goes down twice a week, takes his kids down there.
Yeah.
Kids do that. And if we had a good facility, I think we could have some major competition, as in a big
like tournaments and things.
Yeah, tournaments. Thank you. Tournaments.
Yeah.
Things like that. That they could have, and I think they're missing the boat by not doing that. Keep your kids going, give your family something to do close by. Yeah. Doesn't cost an arm and a leg. It's going to cost the county something, but I think it's going to be way cheaper than going back in and completely redoing something. Mm-hmm. You already own the ground. It's already a youth deal.
Yeah.
You got water there, and I think they could do that with some of the other stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of one of those nice flat pieces of ground here.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And it'd be great to build on it. It's kind of like anyway.
Yeah, and that family gave it with the condition that it would carry on as a youth complex.
And I think that's great. I think that is giving back to the family that originally gave it to them. Mm-hmm. And I think utilizing that, they have done a lot with it here lately. I think that is fabulous what they've done to it here lately. It was so, you go out there and try to play t-ball with the kids or, whatever. Or, they have their little soccer things there and it's like, holes and whatever else.
Yeah.
But, I just think we could do that. And, maybe I'm way out and don't even know what it is, but I think we could look into it. I don't think it's going to hurt a thing.
Okay.
Anyway,
do you have any other ideas in regards to how the county might use this windfall to either develop like that one was a youth sports facility, but any other?
I think they could. There's some places on roads and things like that they could really put some money back into it and really think about when they're scheduling those. Try to take into consideration. I know years and years ago they redid 10th Street right before cherry harvest. Oh, yeah. You got to use some common sense. Mm-hmm. The downtown's trying to survive, and they've had a carnival for how many years? Mm-hmm. And I'm not a carny person. I don't I don't have anything against it, but I just think people that are planning should think a little bit ahead of time, what they're doing. The downtown's struggling right now.
Yeah.
And, and like I said, this is just my deal. It's not why don't you plan that right after the Cherry Festival?
Yeah.
You know, just an idea. I don't know. Maybe they can't.
Right.
Maybe there's only X window that they can do.
Yeah.
But I think it would help the downtown. You know, that there's a lot of people come in there for those few days.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just, you know.
Do you think there are any specific industries out there or companies that we could pull into Wasco County that are just kind of like perfect for this community, or to because the idea there is to diversify the economy,
right.
so like no one sector can pull us.
Right.
I hate to have that boom and bust kind of cycle
Right,
going.
sure. So if something happens and the data center completely disappears.
Yeah, which
I mean they could. I mean you can lift up and move total buildings.
Yeah. And technology can change dramatically. So
absolutely. So that's kind of like having all your eggs in one basket. Yeah, but I can't think of anything. But there's people that do this for a living that think about this stuff.
Yeah.
And they ought to bring it up and share it. But I don't. I think we need to utilize what we have here for housing and downtown. I don't know. Have we ever finished the Commodore and got it fully up and going?
I don't know. Good question. I think so, but I don't know.
I thought it was supposed to be, have some. But the thing, parking's a big deal.
Okay.
Okay. So why fence off Tony's? Why not why not use it as parking, if nothing else, until you build something there? I don't understand that. I'm
Yeah.
I'm gonna catch it, I'm sure, but I don't understand.
Yeah.
If you've got that, when you're having this baseball deal down here, where the old armory was, that's been vacant for how long? If you need somewhere for the people to park, why can't they park there? Is that a safety thing or a special thing or not owned by I don't know who owns it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you make it a little more available for people. Parking's a big deal downtown.
Yeah. So you're thinking, like, I'm sure you can always work out a deal sometimes, right? Like, but your idea there would be to kind of develop that into a parking lot.
Well, don't have to. There isn't really. I mean, it's gravelled.
Yeah,
it's filled,
right.
It's gravelled and everything.
Yeah.
You don't have to have paved with lines on it. I don't think. Why? Unless this is some kind of a safety thing or something, you've got to have lines for in order for people to park. Just make it available so people have places to park so they can do.
Gotcha.
I'm not talking about staying, for weeks on end there,
right?
Camping there.
No,
but why not let them utilize that? Okay. Especially if the city owns it.
Yeah. Okay.
Or the county owns it. Why not? Why not utilize a little of that?
I'm not quite sure on the ownership of that property, but I
don't either. I'm just
even if it is privately owned, though, you can always try to work a deal.
Yeah, maybe pay a little bit, take some of that tax money, and pay them a little bit of rent.
Could be, yeah.
And then when they get ready to build, well, then you put your fence up and build something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just just looking around because that's a big deal. You want to build something, but there's no parking. And then people have that where you're talking about the basalts, I think that parking lot. Who parks there? If you need parking, why not? Why not make an agreement or maybe rent it? They have the county or the city rent that from whoever owns it to allow people to park there. But I don't know. I'm sure that maybe there's a liability thing or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway,
okay. Well, great. Well, that kind of rolls us up into this last question. The straight up question is, do we need a new high school in the Dalles? But then the question to you as a candidate is, what should the county's role be in the school district's push for a new high school? Like they did do some of that through the Google agreements. The North Wasco School District 21 receives $750,000 a year now from that new data center. Correct. That's unmarked, and that should double when the new one comes on. Should be close anyway, something like that. But what do you think, far as the county's concerned? What is their role, or is there any role in regards to helping the school district with the high school or any of their physical plant? They have a lot of buildings that are pretty old.
That's my point.
Yeah.
They got a lot of property. What are they doing with it? So there's property that they own.
Yes.
And so the way I would have to run my business, if I wanted a new car, then I'd probably have to liquidate some cattle or something, some assets I have in order to do that. And that's kind of, I think that would, I don't know the figures.
Yeah.
I've just been told, I know they own a couple of, the one over here by, on the west end of town, hasn't been utilized since my kids graduated.
The Chenoweth Middle School.
Yeah, nothing there.
Right.
Nothing there. So, why couldn't they rent that or something, or sell the properties, get the money, and build a high school? Yeah, I think we need a new high school.
Okay.
But I think the city, or I think the schools have their chunk of that windfall taxation, plus they have their chunk of the 3%.
Yeah.
Every year, and I think they need to utilize their monies better and their assets. And if you want something, maybe you ought to liquidate it.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I've been told that there's a big chunk of property. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
Columbia View Heights, they have 100 acres up by the Veterans Home. Yeah.
100 acres.
Somewhere close.
What's 100 acres worth?
Yeah. It's buildable.
Yeah. They're having, to me, Tom, that's what I think. And how many years have they had that there? So why not liquidate it, take the money instead of trying to get, get grants or whatever. And if Google wants to, the data center wants to donate, or whoever wants to donate, I think that's great. It'd be a great opportunity for some companies possibly.
Yeah.
To donate a large chunk or whatever, new buses or new computers. The thing when you start donating a lump chunk of something like that, is that really what that school needs? How about giving them some tax money and let them purchase what they need?
Yeah, right.
And instead of I don't know if
Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking like 100 acres, and if it was farmland, or say $800 an acre or something like that.
You ain't gonna touch no farmland for $800 an acre.
Yeah, what are you gonna sell it for?
Well, it's probably worth at least $1,000.
Okay.
Farmland.
Yeah. So it's $1 million sitting up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's not buildable properties. We're not talking about the same thing.
Right. Right. No, I know. Yeah, farmland versus residential
so you're not
lots.
because nobody's farming it. They're running cattle, keep the wind, the weeds
down. Yeah.
Well, which is a smart move.
Yeah.
Instead of mowing it, why not let somebody go in and pasture it off?
Yeah.
Fire abatement. That's smart.
Yep. Yeah.
And then you probably get a little bit on, on rent, on pasture rent or whatever. Yep. Utilize it a little bit. Maybe it is just a little bit here and a little bit there.
Yeah.
Parking, that parking thing. Well, maybe you could charge people to park there.
Yeah. Yeah.
They would know they'd have a parking spot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But then you have to have somebody go in and patrol it and everything else.
You do always. So. There's always that enforcement side of things. Yeah.
So I think they do need a high school.
Yeah.
But I think they need to really look at their assets. And I think there's some other businesses around here in the Dalles, in Wasco County, that need to really look at what they have for assets and maybe liquidate some of those to get what they want.
Okay.
That's what business people have to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. All right.
But, there again, that's my own opinion.
And we all got lots of them. That's all good.
Well,
and that's why we're here.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And I thought, all I do, I just want people to vote, Tom.
Okay.
I want people to vote.
Yeah.
And if you like what's going on, vote the same. If you don't like what's going on, then vote different and change it.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. But if you don't vote, you ain't got nothing you got no complaints.
That's right.
That's what it's about. Yeah.
Yep.
It's a voting democracy, or however you want to put it. That's the way things work.
Yeah. Perfect.
You go to a board, you're on a board, you vote. Yep. Yay, nay, I want to do this. Nope, I don't think it's a good idea.
All right. Well, perfect. All right, Dick. Well, that takes us to the end of our time. Thank you so much. I know. Yeah, it goes quick, doesn't it?
Over time.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tom, I really appreciate this opportunity to share with the constituents what I think, and maybe it was a little much, but
I think it was great. Great to get to know you better.
That's the way I feel. So hopefully everybody votes, and whatever it's going to be, it's going to be.
Excellent.
So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dick.